Okay, welcome to this week's Mind to Tell writing tip. Our purpose here is to guide you to your strength as a writer and a creative, one small writing exercise at a time. So today we are talking about something that I'm sure all of us have had some experience with. And it is, I keep not meeting my writing goals. How can I motivate myself?
It's so easy to get down on yourself for not meeting those goals. Like there's a deadline, and you just breeze past it. Um, and so I just want to share a goal that I had it took me, I think it was a year and a half or 2 years, like past the deadline that I had set for myself. I had this idea that I wanted to write a children's book for my two little girls. And I thought, I had never actually written a children's book. And I was like, it's what, like 30 sentences? And I assumed that I would just kind of crank it out in a weekend. And then I'd give it to my friend and he would illustrate it and then we'd be done. And it was not that. Like the story grew a lot more as I started writing it. I got into it and realized it was a much bigger thing than I had anticipated. And it kind of went past a children's book. But I spent a lot of time kind of beating myself up about not meeting that initial goal, which was crazy. Like there's no way that I could have met that goal, even if it had stayed in the scope that I had assumed that I would. And I think it's really easy to do as a creative person to have this vision in your mind and you're right here and to just assume you can make that leap maybe a lot longer and a lot faster than you actually can. And so for me, it was a really useful lesson in asking myself, like, are my goals actually realistic? And are they bigger than I can actually act on? Just asking myself those questions has ended up being really useful in projects that I've done since then.
Yeah, awesome. And I won't share any stories, but I've also had plenty of experience with having really big ideas and thinking that I was just going to do them real quick. And that just doesn't happen, and that's okay. And thank goodness. Thank
And if
goodness.
you ever tell yourself, I'm just going to do this real quick, that's usually a sign that
Don't do it.
mm-mm.
So the actionable step that we want to give you today is to, and it's fine to have those really big goals that you would like to do. Writing a novel is a great goal. You will not write a novel in a week or a month or maybe even a year. But sometimes that can be frustrating to not be able to meet things along the way. So the thing that we want to offer to you this week is to, yes, give credence to those large ideas, but ask yourself, what is the smallest step that I can feasibly do in the amount of time that I have, and do that next thing. So for now, it might be that someday you want to write a best-selling novel or memoir or a book of poetry. But that is a huge process, and you can't, that in and of itself is a very broad goal. So the thing that, if we were taking on that project, the thing that we would do is probably write a first page of that memoir, or a first chapter, or an outline, something very small and doable. And if you, instead of sending it right to an agent, share it with 5 people that you know, and see if that really is the thing that that motivates you and makes you excited to write. So pick that big writing project. If it's a book of poetry, write a single poem. If Yeah, like we said before, the smallest actionable step that you can take and actually do in the amount of time that you have, do that and feel awesome about it.
Yeah. I think that I could have much more easily tackled the project that I had before me if I had said, I'm going to write a scene rather than I'm going to write the whole book, get it illustrated and published, because there's no way to like wrap your hands around that completely. But you can say, I'm going to write 1 page. I'm going to write 1 exchange of dialogue. It's much simpler that way. And then once you've done that, don't beat yourself up. Sometimes creative works, they take on a life of their own. They require certain things that you weren't expecting at the outset. So do your work and then let it go. We'll just leave you with a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Finish each day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Tomorrow is a new day. Begin it well and serenely and with too high a spirit to be encumbered by your old nonsense. So write, be done with it, and then write again tomorrow. And just keep writing, because your story is yours to tell.
Okay, thank you.